Hey guys, welcome to the Brushpix YouTube channel. We are a comic book company that loves to talk about other mediums, including movies, TV shows, and video games. If you like any of those things, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon below. Hey Chief, how you doing?
Hey Cyrus, not bad. How about you?
I'm excellent. So what do you want to talk about today?
Well, let's talk about Transformers movies. The old 1986 one versus the Michael Bay ones.
Okay, excellent. It was actually a little bit before me.
Yes.
What were some of your initial reactions to watching it?
Well, the original Transformers movie in the 80s, I saw that as a kid in the theater.
Right.
Of course, I saw the new Michael Bay ones in the theater too.
Sure, but I was old enough to watch those. I remember I was in middle school when they came out. It was pretty awesome.
Yes. Okay, let's go back to the original one. That was kind of an exciting thing for a kid to see.
Right.
First of all, I think the build-up to it was pretty good.
How did they market it?
Well, they marketed it through the toys. They marketed it on TV. They marketed it through TV shows. It was all over the place.
Right.
If you're a kid who grew up with Transformers, who bought the toys, who watched the cartoon regularly, you knew the movie was coming. It was like way before, month ahead before the movies come out. When you buy the toys, any of that toys released that year had a movie promotion, inserts, and even on the box it says, Transformers the movie's coming, all sorts of stuff. It's all over the place. So marketing was done on the toy. And then when you watch the cartoon on TV in between commercial breaks, it'd be Transformers the movie. They'll be running commercials for that.
Yeah.
And then even I think you were buying the comic books, they were talking about that too.
Yeah. So how did
so they couldn't escape it.
How did the TV show turn into the movie then?
Well, here's the funny thing. As a kid, you had no idea what that movie was really going to be about. You got snippets of it in the trailers on TV.
Yeah.
Because the trailer did very much clear to say it is the year 2005. A giant planet is coming. Menace that's that's tearing through the galaxy, and Autobots has to fight. And they did mention, Prime died, and who was going to lead the Autobots. So you had these clues that stuff was happening. But once you go in there, it's a totally different experience. Right. I would say anything you watched as a TV show, during that time period, for about maybe the 2-year time span, did not prepare for what you see in the theater.
Right.
Absolutely not. It's kind of interesting because I think now there's a lot of controversies with people saying, the movie when you went in killed off a lot of characters that you're familiar with in the TV show. But I think it was at the time when anybody who was going in, wasn't thinking like that. You're prepared to go see this big Transformer movie in the theater. Of course, most kids at the time don't even get to movies that much. So it's kind of like you have to get a parent to take you in, sit down. It's all dark. And I just remember it didn't prepare me for what it is because you didn't realize how the story would jump so far into the future. Even though you got the idea from the TV trailers. It was like the way it looks. It was much more detailedly animated. They had introduced a bunch of brand new characters you're not familiar with.
Right.
And it was just kind of like what I was familiar with for 2 years watching TV show. Watching that was almost like a completely different world.
Right.
Besides having some of the previous season characters that you're familiar with show up, behaving and talking like the way they do, there were elements that you never expect. Like you had no idea what the Matrix was. You had no idea exactly what Unicron was all about. It was just kind of, it's a big monster planet. You didn't expect Optimus Prime to die in such a vicious way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember watching that. I'm just like, bruh. Yeah. I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah. Well, they hinted in the TV trailer. It was Prime dies. You're not going to die, but he died in a vicious way. Which years later, you hear like there were kids that really cried, and locked themselves in their room and didn't want to come out because of stuff like that.
Right.
Because I can imagine that being very shocking to people.
Took chances.
Took a lot of chances, and then you basically just replace it with a bunch of brand new characters after the first act ended. Characters you were kind of familiar with because they're toys that you knew that existed, but you didn't know who they were as you're watching them.
Right.
And you had no idea where it was going because it was weird, because before everything was happening on Earth, now they're going from planets to planets. Weird, crazy looking planets. Got to the Quinceton planet. It was like they were being judged for whatever reason. You didn't know what was going on. And part of it I liked it because the characters didn't know what was going on as they were doing planet hopping. As an audience, you're kind of like, my God, what is happening too?
Yeah.
So nothing really prepared you for that. How it resolved itself at the end was not what you expected to. Where you have Hot Rod finally becoming Rodimus Prime.
Right.
Because as a kid, I knew that there was the Hot Rod toy and then there was the Rodimus Prime toy. So I thought it was two different characters. But in the movie, they kind of did that fantasy resolution where you kind of transformed into Rodimus Prime. And that was something else that the TV show didn't prepare you for. Because in the TV show, everything was a little bit more logical, a little bit more, believable. In the movie itself, it was a complete fantasy.
Yeah.
They took the fantasy route. There was almost like, techno magic that was happening throughout the whole
that
thing.
definitely transcended.
Transcended
where it was going beforehand.
Yeah, and by the time you were done, you were like, oh, okay, what the heck was that? I remember my first impression was like, you liked it as a kid, you were excited, but at the same time, you really had to kind of take it a while to process what you watched.
Yeah.
What was even more interesting was that the movie occurred at the end of season 2, because usually the way cartoon back then was that when summer comes, when the summer break comes, the season will stop, and then the show will pick up again in September, when school starts. And I thought, okay, we saw a Transformers movie. It was taking place in the year 2005. But then when we come back season 3, we'll just go back to regular TV show. Kind of setting. You figure that was kind of the one-off thing. But in September, when the show started again, they just took off. They took the storyline, just followed through and took off from there. So that was kind of a big surprise too. Like, oh, suddenly we're not watching any more of the season 2 stuff anymore. We're just going season 3.
It moved forward.
Move way forward. And it was interesting too. You just didn't know what you're expecting. And that's something I think most shows today would not even dare to take that chance to go that far with the property. I'm talking about this is a kid's property that was selling toys. But they were willing to say, okay, season 1 and 2, we're just kind of going to shuffle that aside, kill off a bunch of characters, and here's a bunch of new characters. And to be honest, as a kid, we had no problem with it. We just watched it, And it wasn't so much like comparing, like, wow, I like Optimus Prime over Rodimus Prime or stuff like that. You just kind of went along with it. It wasn't like a struggle, like I can't watch the show anymore. You just wanted to know what's happening, and you still follow through. The sad part was after season 3, they did another season, but there was only 3 episodes, and they wrapped it up, and that was the end of it. And you kind of want that world to keep going, but it just kind of stopped at one point.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was kind of my experience watching the movie, where it was a weird bridge of the TV seasons. Mm-hmm. But it changed everything you kind of knew about what happened before.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. If you take that and you compare it to one of my first experiences with Transformers, being the Michael Bay movies.
Yes.
Number one, as a kid, I was in middle school and I saw this. I'm like, bruh, this is awesome. Sure. It looks amazing.
Yes. No doubt the movie looked good. No problem with that, although the characters that were designed were so weird looking.
I agree. Like they had like weird looking teeth. Yeah. Like Starscream, I remember when he got really close to Sam at one point and you could see his teeth like grinding and they were moving and so
there were weird stuff like that. The eyes were weird looking. The Optimus Prime lips were much lower than compared to human proportion.
You're right, yeah.
So weird stuff like that you kind of go, okay. But I remember my first impression of seeing that movie was when the characters did show up, the Autobots showed up, they got to Earth, they started interacting. I go, that's not bad because they depict them like cartoons. At least there was a cartoon element that was transported over. The characters had pretty vibrant personalities.
Yes.
Like very quickly you got who they were without any problem. And I thought that was one of the better things they did with it.
I agree.
They handled that fairly well. In the first movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the rest
substance sequence stuff was a lot messier the way the characters became.
They don't seem to care about continuity.
No, they didn't care about continuity.
At all.
No. That's why, compared to back then, when you talk about even this little Transformers cartoon movie, they had continuity that followed right after in the following season.
Right.
And this was really just done to sell toys back then. Yeah. But now you talk about modern day Michael Bay movie where they're trying to do an actual movie franchise and they don't care about continuity at all.
See, that's the biggest missed opportunity, I feel, is that if they had actually really properly written each script, I felt these movies would be far more rewatchable.
Sure.
But the second movie was terrible.
And then the third one, you're kind of like, it's like every movie will almost like do a restart.
Yeah.
Of all the characters and motivation, where they are and what they do, who they are, and it was just hard to say, okay, this came after that,
right?
Because it just feels like we're just doing another movie. We don't really care.
Well, the most egregious one was The Last Night. Out of all of them,
that was kind of a mess.
That was the most egregious in terms of continuity errors. Because it's like, okay, all that stuff with Sam at the beginning of the first movie doesn't matter. No, they were here for generations.
Yeah, well, after they wrapped up the third one, they got rid of Sam and they brought in
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg character. Which I was like, okay.
He's like, I'm an inventor. I'm like, you don't look like an inventor.
No, he doesn't look like an inventor. He looks like one of the guys that tinker with junk in his garage, which would be fine too if they made him that.
Like if he was like Dom from like Fast and Furious, I believe that.
Well, he could just be a character that's kind of like, I like to fix stuff.
Right.
I'm really handy with a car.
Right. I believe that.
Yeah, but he's like, I'm an inventor. You're like,
no, you're not.
You're Mark Wahlberg.
No.
I go, it's Mark Wahlberg.
Well, and I think that's an issue with just Mark Wahlberg in general.
Yes.
Because I remember seeing, was it 21 Miles or 22 Miles, something like that?
Uh-huh.
And there, his character motivation was terrible also. And I like him as an actor.
Sure.
But I think one of the things that they do is that they just tell him to say things. And he says it, and
it felt like that. He was just ad-libbing throughout the whole movie.
I'm like, I'm sorry. And then he had a daughter, and I'm like, are we supposed to be looking at his daughter? No, yes. I'm like, I don't like this at all.
Well, I felt like, even for the Autobots, like, pretty much I think Optimus Prime took center stage in the last two movies.
Yeah.
Because as a very dominant character. But I even felt like they just brought in Peter Cullen, who's the voice actor, to just read a bunch of lines. And then say, okay, the character's probably going to say this. Just say this stuff. And then later on, they just cut and paste some dollars in there.
I would agree. And that Age of Extinction, I didn't think was as egregious. Mm-hmm. But there were still points in the movie where I'm like, this doesn't quite flow together properly.
That one has so much product placement. They even literally, there's a sequence in the middle of the movie where the guy's like, hey, these transfer technology, look what we can make. Here's a beatbox. Here's a My Little Pony toy. And you're just like, you're just selling me products, man.
It's pretty egregious.
It's so weird because it's a movie that, of course, that is to sell you products like Transformer toy product, but at the same time they're selling you all sorts of other products.
Well, that's how they subsidize all of that great CG that they do.
Yeah.
Despite all of that, though, I'll say for the first movie, it was awesome because number one, they introduced the Decepticons in a really excellent way.
Sure,
bringing the military angle into all of it. I felt.
There was a little bit more mystery in the first one.
Yes.
But by the third one, it was like, they already know who they are. How they bring these characters, introducing them on screen, is just a mess at that point.
Yeah.
Nobody cared. Suddenly you're here, suddenly they're not there.
It doesn't matter. It's just jumping from place to place to place.
Yes.
But, I didn't enjoy that. Sam, I really liked him as a character. He's sort of awkward. He's in high school.
Sure.
His parents are annoying. He has to sort of figure out how.
Yeah, well, he's not the good-looking, handsome, pretty boy.
Right. And the whole idea of needing a car and wanting to have that relationship.
Yeah, want to get a girl, it's fine. But later on, you talk about the third movie, he was just, I made to dump this good-looking girl for another good-looking girl.
That's not Sam. I'm sorry.
Yeah, where did that even come from? It's a weird thing. Like, even the human characters don't follow through.
Right, no, they're just like, how does he keep on getting hot chicks?
Yeah.
The mom even says that at one point, which I think is hilarious. One of my favorite scenes from the first movie was with Bernie Mac. You remember that scene where he's buying the car?
Yeah, he's trying to sell him the car.
It's a comedy. Like between that and then the scene where they're getting raided in the house and he's playing on Dance Dance Revolution. Yeah, the character it's just funny. Like there were so many great lines in the movie.
Well, the first one there was a little bit more care put into it because they probably didn't want it to fail.
Yes,
but then once that thing made like almost close to $1 billion, they were like, we can do whatever we want now. We got the money, and we can get any sponsor to sign on board.
Yes.
So, like I said, after a while, they were just selling all sorts of weird stuff. I mean, Victoria's Secret appeared in it.
I remember.
Yeah, it was on the back of a bus or something like that. They specially framed it for like 4 or 5 seconds of it. So the movie got so weird to watch. You're sitting there like, okay, you're supposed to be selling me Transformers. Not every other product under the sun.
Needless to say.
See, at least in the original 1986 movie, they were selling you Transformers.
Yes.
Even though they killed a bunch of the old Transformers, they were still selling you Transformers.
That's correct, yeah.
Like the Michael Bay movie was selling you everything, even like weird Chinese drinks. Bottled water and then soybean milk.
They did that, that's correct. Yeah. But again, the military aspect to it, I thought was pretty interesting.
Yes.
The fact that they had to sort of figure out how to fight the Transformers was pretty entertaining and exciting. And then even that final scene where they're having to rush through the city to get the Allspark to safety, I thought was highly entertaining and exciting. You know, that scene where Sam is running with the cube and everyone's fighting behind him and he has to go diving over and under stuff. I watched it recently.
There were nice stuff in it. There's no doubt the first one. You know, even I remember first impression watching that. Well, at least they made the Decepticon very dangerous looking.
You could feel it.
Yeah, very sharp angles. So when the military was fighting it, you can tell they were literally, like American military is literally outgunned, outclassed by something like that. Which is all fine. And then, of course, at the end, they did come back to save the day, too. It wasn't like the military was kind of just in the background, useless. Later on, to be honest, you talk about the other movies, I don't remember what the military did at all. Even though they were kind of there through all three movies.
And they weren't useful. But a lot of times they're getting in the way.
Yeah,
or they were making deals with the Decepticons.
Oh, there's stuff like that, too. I forgot.
Yeah.
See, the movies are easily forgettable. You know, and the weird part is, yes, I remember there was Mark Wahlberg. And there were a few other characters. Maybe his daughter, I think that was it. Like, who are some of the other characters there? I don't remember.
Well, one of the guys died. It was like one of the girl's best friends, but I don't even remember who it was.
See, I don't even remember how many other supporting characters there were. Too many characters to focus on. See, you're right, because if you talk about the first one, I remember there was Sam and his parents.
But even the military handler was very entertaining.
Yeah.
You remember him?
Yes, you remember those guys. You remember the guy from sort of the Area 51 type of character, John Turturro.
Yes.
They were at least a little bit more memorable. But later on, you're like, who are these people? You know, they were like all over the place. You know?
Even that small Transformer that they had, that was that went in Sam's pocket as his phone, was pretty entertaining because the way in which they had to kill him was very cool too.
Yeah,
they put more care into their.
Well, they come with a weird conflict for the character, human or Transformers, and they will find interesting ways to kill them too. You have to get rid of them in the first one. Later on, like I said, it was just it was a haze. You know, I remember like certain shots in my head, kinda, but not for a good reason because they stood out so much. You're like, what the heck was that all about? Like Mark Wahlberg, piloting the alien spaceship crash landed into a Miller's beer truck.
Yeah,
and then he opened up a beer and drank it. I remember weird stuff like that.
It was pretty haphazard.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you're selling beer now. Like, I remember that more than what was actually why they had to steal the alien ship and got off and what happened afterward. Complete blur.
Well, I mean, it's a convoluted plot. Like, there's no see-through line. There's no through line that you can say, okay, they went from here to here to here, and this is why they did everything.
Yeah, they went everywhere.
Yes. And
then sometimes their purposes were not clear. Like, they were set out to do something, and then somewhere in there, the motivation is gone.
Yes.
Or maybe not even gone, but just changed, and you're like, okay, now it's about something else that don't even matter anymore. The movie did a lot of that, to be honest.
I also thought it was weird how they just sort of killed Sam off screen. Like, they said he died, and I'm just like, what? He died?
Yeah.
What about him and Bumblebee? I thought they were...
Did they say he died?
No, they say he died, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty harsh. I don't even remember that.
Right. I was like, that's terrible. But I'll give them this. Bumblebee, the movie that they made, that was pretty good.
Well, it was much simpler.
Yes.
They also took the plot of E.T. and the Iron Giant and which into one, which
excellent movies.
Well, that's what it is. You take good plots and you just kind of steal or borrow stuff from that. You can't really go wrong, as opposed to the last few other Michael Bay movie where they were just making up their own stuff, whatever they go along. That was why it's a mess.
See, I'm not hot on E.T., but Iron Giant is probably one of my favorite animated movies of all time.
Yes.
And so the fact that they were able to take things from that,
yeah, well, great. You know what? If you're going to steal from a good movie,
yes, not something.
So at least parts of it would be okay.
Yes,
which was okay. You know, there was still stuff in there that a lot of these Transformers, because they're 2 hours long, they meander sometimes in between.
It's a tiny bit.
Yeah, and just kind of we go from places to places. There's a whole scene about Bumblebee trashing her mom's house and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's goofy stuff. You know, they do a lot of goofy stuff. And you're like, okay, I guess maybe that's for kids, but I don't even know if kids even care all that much.
Yeah, you want to get to the good stuff. You want to see what happens near the end. And that's, again, one of the reasons why I liked number one, was because the first scene, you knew exactly the kind of danger they're in.
Sure.
There was a shroud of mystery.
Yes.
And a lot of it was really spent around trying to strategize how to
survive and succeed. On the other ones, they don't have the same urgency.
Well, it just, everything felt a little bit more dangerous in the first one. Whenever there's conflict of Autobots versus Decepticon or Decepticon versus humans, if there was a little bit more weight to everything that was going on. There was more planning and thought about how we're going to make this stuff work.
I agree.
Later stuff, I think, once they're successful, it's just like, we just got to make them show up, shoot guns at each other, blow stuff up. That was the end of that.
You're right.
That was all the effort at that point. So,
if they were to reboot it all, start from the beginning and get a better writer, keep Michael Bay, because I think he's excellent at doing this kind of...
people would not be happy with it. They want him gone. He didn't do the last one. He didn't do Bumblebee.
See, no, here's my thought on Michael Bay. He's an excellent director. And if you see his actual accolades, you can understand he's an intelligent man.
Well, he's got some good movies under his belt. Not like he hasn't.
Like Bad Boys.
But I think with Transformers, I think he just didn't care.
I agree, he didn't care.
I didn't care.
But my thought is this. I don't think anyone is better at trying to film these large set pieces and being able to film and get actors to act when there's not the actual big things there.
His visual is grand. There's no doubt about it. It looked good on screen. Most Michael Bay movies at least look good on screen.
Yes.
But I think he just didn't care about the story. He cares more about the visual. Because I think he started out doing MTV too.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was stuff like that. But Transformers is a multiple character, story-driven property. It's always kind of been that way. So when they trying to go that route with him, it really wasn't.
Well, I mean, even if you think about the first one, there weren't that many Autobots and Decepticons to carry.
No, but also the first one really had Steven Spielberg kind of supervising the project.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Spielbergness in there. Bumblebee Night with Hawk was, I always thought that was definitely a Spielberg idea.
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
boy in his car is also a very steep Spielberg idea. It's not a Michael Bay idea. So maybe there was a lot of that why it was kind of, pulled on the right track. Later on, he was on his own. Yeah. He just didn't care about. Like you said, to be fair to Michael Bay, he's done good movies. It's not like it's a complete loss. But for something I think really so character-driven, probably need a better director to come in and carefully guide the property.
Absolutely. I think this is a good place to end.
Sure.
So, guys, thank you guys for getting to the end of the video. We want to get your opinion on what you thought about the original, was it 1988?
1986.
86 version of Transformers. And then also let us know how you feel about the newer series done by Michael Bay. Did you like it? Do you want them to reboot it? Or do you even want them to even continue making the movies at all?
It's hard to say at this point.
Well, we'd love to hear your comments down in the section below. And, we hope that you come back and watch again.
Yeah. See you guys next time.
All right. Thanks, guys.